Craving your next action-packed adventure? Audible delivers thrills of every kind on your command, like Project Hail Mary by Andy Weir, where a lone astronaut must save humanity from extinction, narrated with stunning intensity by Ray Porter. From electrifying suspense and daring quest to spine-tingling horror and romance in far-off realms, unleash your adventurous side with gripping titles that'll keep you guessing. Discover exclusive Audible originals, hotly anticipated new releases, and must-listen bestsellers that hook you from the first minute. Because Audible knows there's no greater thrill than the one that speaks to you. Discover what lies beyond the edge of your seat. Start your free 30-day trial at audible.com/WonderyUS. That's audible.com/WonderyUS.
There's some incredible TV coming out of the UK right now. Brits just do it differently. The accents, the wit, the scenery, the devastating one-liners disguised as compliments. It's all streaming on BritBox. They have the best mysteries, dramas, comedies, and seriously addicting originals like Outrageous, based on the true story of the Mitford sisters. They were kind of like the Kardashians of the 1930s, wealthy, audacious, chaotic, wildly opinionated, and always making headlines. And chances are you've never heard their story. It's stunning. It's jaw-dropping. It's very British. So check out Outrageous. It could be your next favorite. Don't miss Outrageous, streaming now only on BritBox.
Better not have no plans tonight.
Movie time and it's feeling right.
You're looking for a love that lasts. You'll find it at Romancing the Podcast. Ooh, ooh, baby, you had me at hello. Ooh, I love you.
I know.
Ooh, ooh, baby, you're the wind beneath my wings. I'll have what she's having.
Thank you for tuning into Romancing the Pod. You had us said hello. I'm Paige Wesley.
And I'm Todd Schlosser. And this week, I guess we made you watch The Wedding Banquet, and not the one Ang Lee directed in the 90s, the one that just came out in April.
I actually did not know that Ang Lee directed one in the 90s, so thanks for letting me know. Did you accidentally watch it?
No. But
okay.
But you are sort of correct in, how did Todd know that? And the answer to that is, as I searched The Wedding Banquet, it was the other one that came up, and I was like, Ang Lee did this? Nice. I didn't watch it, though. But, Paige.
Yes.
This is probably the first time you saw it, yes?
Yes, this is the first time I saw it. I had heard about it, and I will watch anything Bowen Yang does, just as a rule.
I can't hear anyone say Bowen Yang without hearing my wife's voice inside my head saying, Bowen Yang! Because whenever we watch SNL and the announcer says his name, it gets stuck in her head because though he says it in a very cool way. So it just I'll hear from upstairs as she's editing the podcast and I'm working downstairs. I'll just hear her randomly go, Bowen Yang! It makes me laugh. It's one of the cutest things she does.
I mean, the SNL announcer voice in and of itself is a weird, funny, that was how that guy's voice sounded, Don Pardo, for ever.
Like Ed Pardo or somebody, right?
Don Pardo, yeah.
Don Pardo, thank you. Yeah.
And then when Don Pardo passed away.
Yeah.
I believe passed away.
Or at least retired. No, yeah, he died in 2014. I just looked it up.
Yeah. He passed away. And so and I want to say, correct me if I'm wrong, but a former cast member took it over and then just does it the same way that Don Pardo used to.
They just came in with a baller Don Pardo impression, and then when he retired, they were like, hey man, do you want to just come do your best Don Pardo every week? And they were like, yes.
Well, it was the old Impressions guy, and I can't remember his name. This is
Michael Winslow?
No.
That would be if Don Pardo sounded like a helicopter.
Yeah, Daryl Hammond, who was their impression guy forever.
Yes.
He did Bill Clinton, all of it.
Yeah, he was the impression guy for the 90s.
And apparently, back when the show was on, occasionally Don Pardo would be sick or unavailable, and he used to do it pretend then, and no one knew. And so then now he's just...
I didn't know he was doing it. That's so funny.
I love it.
Yeah, that's awesome. Bowen Yang! Anyway, so Paige, this is the first time I saw it too. And man, I was not prepared for how I would be emotionally destroyed by this movie while watching it. And I fucking loved that part of it. I mean, there are reasons to not like at least two of the main characters, but
Sure.
I couldn't help but love where this movie ended, man.
I love where it ends.
Just sobbing the whole time. And it feels like a movie of yeah, everyone sort of sucks. And that's the way life is. People struggle with things and whatever. And at the end of this story, everyone's sort of in a way better place than they left it. And that's so nice.
That is true.
It's so nice. But yeah, I think there are some problems with it, I guess. But I liked it.
Well, here's what I will say is that when I was looking for, because this is a last minute replacement because spoiler, LA is kind of at war, and so guests tough to come by.
We were gonna have some guests, and then LA became a war zone. So
and as someone living in the war zone, I was like, I could really use a pick me up. It's been a rough week.
Yeah.
And I was looking at descriptions of movies, and I was like, oh, this is a brand new one. This is great. And it was like Bowen Yang, and I was like, yay! This will cheer me up. No, that did not happen.
It didn't. It did not. It's very sad.
Except at the end, where I do believe this is maybe one of the happiest endings we had.
I agree. I was gonna say that. I literally cry for the last 30 minutes of the whole fucking movie.
Oh,
starting
sure.
with when she finds out she's pregnant and it's with her mom and they have that talk.
Oh.
And from then till literally the end of the movie, tears.
Yes.
Gushing from my face page.
When her mom is like, I was not a perfect mother, but I learned from you. And spoiler, you won't be perfect either, but you will learn.
Yeah.
Because that's how it always goes.
Ugh.
And I was just like, oh my God. But here's my this movie has some screenwriting problems. Now, of the screenwriting problems movies could have, you could do way worse than this movie.
I will say we've definitely watched way worse. Yeah.
We've definitely watched way worse. Here's my thing. This movie has 4 main characters.
It does.
And it should probably only have 2. Now, I'm not saying there shouldn't be 4 people in the ensemble. I'm saying that the movie has 4 fully fleshed out main characters, which means no one's story gets enough time.
Yeah, full ass plots for everybody, which is so much to do in a movie. That's like a mini series kind of vibe.
Yeah, and every person's story is very emotionally grounded and interesting. Like Lily Gladstone is, wants a baby. She's getting older. She has limited options for having a baby. She's going through IVF. That's one whole movie on its own, by the way, like that.
Well, and specifically her having a child, living on the land they're living on and passing it down. I loved that so much.
Their ancestral lands,
Yes, I loved it so much. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, again, that's a whole movie on its own, right?
Yeah, could be. Yeah.
And then Rosie Tran is navigating,
amazing,
reigniting a relationship with her mother who did not accept her and has come back around. And they are now figuring out how to navigate some of the hurt and resentment from the initial feeling when she came out to the way her mom is trying to, in some ways, overcompensate now. But again, that's a movie on its own. That's enough for one whole movie. And then you have someone who has a family history of homophobia, trying to live their own life as an artist and bonding with their grandmother, who I think the movie implies is probably gay as well.
I think there's a strong implication that she was either gay or was super into some other dude. Because was clearly not in love with her husband and didn't seem like she ever fell in love with her husband,
Right.
Which I think leans more towards was probably gay.
Maybe gay, was probably gay. And so you have these 2 generations of one fighting to pretend to be something else so that he can preserve the life with the people he actually loves, and someone who gave up the people they actually love to preserve this person's life, and them working through that together. That's a whole movie on its own.
Fuck, I'll be honest with you. That grandmother trajectory in this movie took me on a ride.
Oh, yeah.
Because you think she's gonna be this hateful grateful woman when she finds out. And I love that she found out immediately.
When she finds out almost immediately, I was like,
I loved that.
Where's this movie going?
But I loved it, Paige, because it kept the movie from being this like, oh, we got to keep the secret. That would have felt like a Julia Roberts, Rupert Everett joint. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
I love that this movie was like, we're not going to do that. We're going to handle this with a much more nuance and maturity, and like send that grandmother on a realization tour of, oh shit.
Of her own emotions and what family means.
Yes, but also like of what society's shift has been over the course of her life.
Sure.
At least globally. I don't know how things are for her back in Korea, because things could be very homophobic there still. It is very clearly stated in the movie that her husband is extremely homophobic.
Yes.
But I don't know if they're any better than we are on like gay rights. I don't know if they can get married or whatever. I have no idea. But
I would assume.
Me too, but I have no idea. That's all I'm saying. But like
no clue.
Her realization of like, oh, it's not really a shameful or sinful thing to be gay. Like you see her go kind of on that journey, and I love that.
I don't even think it's that, because she knows he's gay and has kind of accepted it.
I think she has, yeah.
I think it's more that her trajectory is love is worth fighting for.
Yeah.
And I will help you fight.
Yes.
And then you've got Bowen Yang, who has the least fleshed out story of the movie, who seems to have decision paralysis.
He is in Arrested Development.
Sure.
But he's a birding Yang, because he's just like taking a like sabbatical from his grad school to like become an ornithologist or whatever that is.
Please, sabbatical. And he...
How dare you, Paige?
Great bird impression. And he's caring for his cousin, although it's not clear why. The movie doesn't super explain it, so it is a little weird at the end when they're like, when you took me on for our friend, and you're like, oh, we didn't.
You're like, oh my God, did that happen? Did we miss?
We're very confused.
Did I fall asleep for a second?
I honestly wondered, no,
I did too.
It was never explained. And his grappling with, fearing making adult decisions and then having adult decisions made around him so that he's the one who has to catch up in a way.
Yeah.
But again, everything I've described, that could be 4 movies.
Yes.
And they're trying to cram it into 90 minutes.
Yeah.
While also having a fake dating wedding farce. So like, it's a lot for one movie. That would be my main note for the movie is there's so much good stuff here, but we have to trim some of it so that we can really dig into it. I think if I were to pick 2 stories to highlight, it would be Rosie Tran's story and Min's story, because they are the 2 that are getting fake married.
Yes, absolutely.
And to really focus on their personal relationship struggles with their own relationships, as opposed to then having everyone's struggles be all part of everything. This movie does have one of the biggest, I called it a mile away. It was not a surprise to me. But like when I realized that they were going to do it and it was not just something I had shouted in my kitchen and the pregnancy was going to happen, I was like, no, because I was like, that's the worst wrench to throw into this relationship soup with these 4 people. And I'm pretty sure it's going to be okay. But, ooh, is that conversation going to be tough? And there's actually, we'll talk about it as we go through the scenes. I think there's one place, I think they were going to come clean immediately, and they got interrupted.
Well, yeah, I can't believe we haven't really touched on the fact that, like, there are 2 babies created over the course of this movie.
There's 2 babies
and, like, we haven't even gotten into that. Like, but yeah, I do think all of it, and we'll go through it as we go through the plot, of course, but like I think that is like such a weird moment in the movie, and arguably it makes you not love those 2 characters.
It's a strange choice.
But man, because we know they are gay and not into each other, when they wake up next to each other naked, I do feel like I, as a viewer, also was like, oh God, what have we done? Like they did not like, they weren't happy that happened at all. You know what I'm saying?
Neither.
Yeah.
To the point where I was like, maybe it didn't happen. But then when they didn't get a chance to tell them, I was like, she's pregnant. I like knew it.
Oh no, I knew immediately that she was going to be pregnant.
Immediately.
You don't build to this beat for it not to pay off in the end.
No. You don't waste Bowen Yang on that.
Yeah. Because listen, Bowen came and like, he just didn't pull out, I guess.
Yeah, that's how babies are made. Turns out it can happen anytime. At least as far as I understand the process to be.
I've heard, listen, no kids that I know of. So yeah, I don't know. But yeah, that's what I've heard.
Yeah. Maybe somewhere out there's some dude raising a kid I don't know about. I might not be totally clear on the process.
You definitely are not. But Paige, maybe we should just go through this movie scene by scene.
Let's do it. We open at a gala for the Seattle AAPI LGBTQIA, and there's more letters after that, but it's essentially an organization for the parents of LGBTQIA individuals who are also Asian American, Pacific Islander, and extended, to basically, I think, meet and talk and share stories and figure out how to best support their children. From what I can understand, there's a lot going on. There's a dragon. There's a drag queen that has a hilarious rule of threes come back in this movie.
Yes.
That made me scream laugh in the middle of crying, which was...
I did not expect that. I did not.
I didn't expect it either.
Paige, fully same.
This movie is not very set up punch funny in that, like, there are jokes in it. There are funny moments.
Yes. Yeah.
But, like, it's not like a Bridesmaids where we're constantly doing it.
Right.
And so when this comes back the third time, I was not ready and I lost it.
Me
I
too.
can't wait to talk about it.
But Paige, I want to say during this opening set piece,
yes.
the soundtrack is Young Hearts Run Free.
Young Hearts
Yeah, and it's
Run Free.
I know, and I was like, where's
Never be
Mercutio?
found.
Where's Mercutio in drag? It would be perfect here. Because that's the song from Baz Luhrmann's Romeo and Juliet.
It is.
That Mercutio dances in drag during. I was like, oh, we should just get him to do it. We call him. Someone put him in this scene.
Well, it was a voguing and lip syncing song long before Baz Luhrmann used it. That's why he used it. But
I mean, yeah, I get it.
big fan.
Yeah.
It's and I love that they use the same song the second time.
They do, yeah.
And then by the time the rule of three and the third time comes around, you have forgotten that this ever happened at the beginning of the movie.
I did.
I had
yeah, and then I was like, oh
completely
shit, yeah,
forgotten.
the drag dragon. Yeah, I forgot.
The drag queen's name is Shumai. Love that.
Yeah.
Love everything about that.
Also, I do want to point out, the third time we see the dragon, Bowen Yang is the front of the dragon, which is important, kind of. He says something, he's like, why am I always the butt of the dragon? Because he's always the butt of the dragon, and by the end, he's the front. And I love that for him.
I love that too. Promotion.
Yeah.
But it's because he's driving his own decisions in life. It's metaphorical.
Yes, exactly, Paige. Yes. And also, he is no longer going to put society above his wants and needs.
That's true.
Because that's the moment he chooses to, like, fuck it, I'm going to marry men because I love men.
Exactly.
And we're going to face whatever comes. Yeah.
Exactly.
Exactly. We got there.
We got there.
Yeah, we figured it out.
My voice is still shitty. We're at war. It's fine. Don't worry about it. Anyway, this whole event is an awards ceremony for the organization where they are going to award Rosie Tran, aka Angela's mom, for being a good ally. And that glass trophy is a wild shape, is all I'm saying. And we don't get a close-up of it here. Later, it's sitting on a table and they have a close-up of it and you're like, oh, okay.
Paige, if you could in 1 to 2 words describe it, what would that shape appear to be?
I mean, the top is a little more tapered than most butt plugs would be, but it's very much douche-shaped. Like, it is... It's beautiful.
Yeah, like all glass trophies, it is gorgeous.
Sure.
Yes. Yeah.
Sure.
I was like, is Summer's Eve sponsoring this? Like,
right though?
but what? I don't know. Like, listen, I
don't know.
Maybe they do.
But after the award ceremony, and we kind of get like a little round table of Lee, who is Lily Gladstone, who is Angela, Rosie Tran's girlfriend. It does establish that they are not married, or partner if you want to go with partner.
Yeah, which is Lee is not into the whole like government part of getting married. She makes that very clear, and I fully get it.
I get that. I love later when she's like, I don't like the government institution part of it. I love the celebrations where she's like, weddings are great.
Yeah, love weddings.
I just don't want to get the government involved. And I'm like, tell me more.
Do you need her to tell you more? Like, we know what the government did to her people. I wouldn't trust anything.
No, of course.
Yeah, I get it. I get it.
Look, I crack jokes about my own marriage being like getting hey, I like you enough to get the government involved.
Yeah.
And I think it's wild that we do that.
I want to sex you down so much that I got to tell the government about it, baby.
We're going to fill out paperwork.
How sexy is that?
Hey, county assessor, I need to give you some information.
Damn, girl, you make me want to call a judge and make it a fish.
I mean, I know why we do it, health insurance and taxes, but like, it's weird.
I think what Paige meant to say is love.
I would love Jake regardless of the forms, is what I'm saying.
No, I know. It was just funny that you focused on like the government side of it. But yeah, that was the bit.
Yeah, anyway. But after they've given out the award, we get to kind of talk to her mom. And her mom, I would say in this moment, is trying to brag and be excited about her daughter and talk about everything. But it's coming off as very, look at my gay daughter.
Yeah,
She's
yeah.
gay. Did I mention she's gay?
She has literally made her gay daughter her own identity, kind of.
Yes.
And I kind of love the motivation for this that is revealed later, because I agree.
Yes.
It makes her mother look pretty terrible. And we come to find out her mother has been kind of terrible. And that this isn't her necessarily at her worst. It is her trying to overcompensate.
For being her worst.
Yes, for being what was actually her worst. And this is just her trying so hard.
Yes.
And it coming across so poorly because she's overdoing it, you know?
Right. And in trying to overdo it, it has seemed like she is more into the fact that her daughter is gay as opposed to just liking her daughter as a whole person, where being gay is just one facet of their multifaceted personality.
Yes.
And personhood.
Yeah.
And so she is frustrated by it. Now, in these beginning scenes, because we don't know what we know later, it is a little confusing how frustrated Angela seems by it, because they leave this event and go to an art opening for Min, who is Chris, Bowen Yang's boyfriend. We will find out that they all kind of live in the same house. Like Chris and Min live in like a detached garage, and then Angela and Lee live in the house, and it is Lee's house. That's very important. Remember that later, because the last act of this movie, I was like, did Lee just abandon her own house? We'll talk about it when we get there.
Well, we can just say this core group, those 4 people are the Bowen gang.
Yay. They have like their own little, like, I feel like commune has a bad connotation, but it's almost like a little farm collective, a co-op of sorts.
It is kind
of the 4 of them. And I honestly, when those living situations work out, so fun. So much fun.
Yeah.
So like, they're clearly happy. It's clearly an arrangement that works for everybody. Great. But when they get to this art opening, Angela is not happy.
Right.
She's upset. And we established that Bowen Yang is her best friend. They've been best friends since college. When at college, they what? Banged once.
Yeah, yeah.
They banged once.
It was probably the last, and Paige, listen, it was so bad. It was probably the last time they had sex with someone who was not their preferred partner, if that makes sense.
Yes. Yeah. 100%. I got the impression that wait. When was the last time you saw Mean Girls?
Oh, it's been a bit.
Okay.
I mean, I love Mean Girls, but it's been a bit.
At the end of Mean Girls, Damien and Janice try to kiss, and then they're like immediately like, oh, no, nope, no.
Yeah.
I picture that is what happened, that they were like, nope.
Yeah.
Like, we tried it once, gave it the old college try,
Literally,
and now
yeah.
since we're at college, we're going to go actually do what we want to do.
Yeah.
But they remained friends. They stayed friends the whole time.
Yeah.
And I think in many ways, Angela feels like Chris is one of the few people she can really be transparent with.
Yes.
About some of her feelings about her mom and her family.
I think it goes both ways. I don't think
I agree.
Bowen Yang really shares I hate to say who he is, because I do feel like he's honest and vulnerable with his partner. But there are things instead of communicating to his partner, he communicates to Angela. And I honestly, I kind of get, depending upon your communication styles, why you might want to talk it out with a third party.
Right. Trial run it.
Not even trial run it, but kind of process it with someone else
Sure.
who isn't the partner that you're having this issue with. So, like, I don't even think it's a negative thing that they don't, we don't see them talking or communicating great with their partners, because I feel like they're just that person that they go to when they're having issues to process it, and then they come back to their partners and talk. But I feel like because we're only seeing them as they're both going through this very difficult time and transition in their lives, like they sort of spiral a little bit together.
Well, here's the caveat I will put on that.
Sure, yeah.
Because we don't ever see them then go back and talk to their partners, and we don't even see them fully talk to each other.
That's very true. Yes.
They seem to bond over the fact that they both keep it all inside.
Yes.
And that's not good.
It's bad. Yeah.
They have not developed a communication mechanism to explain to others the feelings they are having and how that might impact their relationship.
I agree completely.
And that's a hard thing for people. I mean, like, it takes a lifetime, right? Like, everyone's on a journey with that, no matter what.
Yeah. It's hard to be vulnerable with people. Like, it is.
It's hard to be vulnerable with people.
I've never been vulnerable with somebody that didn't lead to a deepening connection, but it's always scary when you do it.
Right.
But it's worth it. It's worth it to be vulnerable. Anyway.
Yeah. Well, and you will feel better to get some of that stuff out.
100%.
Because what we will see is that their reluctance to get things out and to be vulnerable and talk through and examine their issues is what leads to some of the biggest problems in this movie.
Yeah, and for the record, I don't think the movie positions this as a good thing.
No, it doesn't.
I think they grow in this area on some levels.
Yeah.
But we are very much seeing them at the beginning of the movie, you know?
Yeah. But this is also kind of in these scenes from this night. This is also where we find out that Lee is in the process of a round of IVF and that it was very expensive. They saved up for a long time. That shit expensive as fuck.
Yeah.
I am very lucky that my day job, if I ever chose to do that, covers it.
Wow.
Which is
that
insane.
Is amazing. That's great.
I know. People are like, why do you still work there? I'm like, this shit's insane.
Because babies, bish. Yeah.
I mean, like, I don't even want that. But the fact that they're willing to do that, like, yeah, great.
It does speak kind of volumes as to how they value the women that they employ.
Yeah. Or the people that want to have children.
Absolutely. That's the better way to say it.
Yep. But it's very expensive. And they're hoping it takes, they're not sure. We do also get a look at Min's art. And I was very happy that in the grandmother's arc, we do get to talk a little bit more about Min's art.
Yeah.
Because Min is a abstract avant-garde quilter, and that's never the kind of art we see in movies, but that kind of shit is aggressively my shit. I love that shit.
Paige, I love that you're like, that's never the kind of art we get in movies, because that's the kind of art we get in the streets.
That's right.
Like, I've never seen this kind of art ever in my life, although I'm not a quilter, so like I get why you might have.
Yes.
But I wouldn't say it's broken through pop culture on any level anywhere outside of Quilt Town, Kansas.
No.
That we go to every year on our pilgrimage.
I know. I think I recommended this on, it wasn't the Friday the 13th. I think it was the Horror Virgin. I think that I talked about the documentary, The Quilters, about the incarcerated men who make quilts for kids in foster care.
Yeah.
And one of the things that they cover is that they get to a point in their quilting skills that they start making their own patterns. And this dude does this very cool thing where it makes the fabric almost look like like those magic eye paintings that kind of look like a single, like the kind of shit you stare at when you're high, but out of fabric. And it's very cool. But if you go to like quilt conventions.
Yes.
Quiltventions.
Yeah.
I forget. QuiltCon is the big one.
QuiltCon!
QuiltCon! I will go to QuiltCon someday. I desperately want to. It's just never at the convenient time or place. They've got a whole bunch of like traditional quilts or like certain styles of quilts. And then there's one whole section that's like avant-garde quilting. And that shit gets wild and sometimes very tedious like to do, but it looks so fucking cool, especially if you're someone who has sewn at all or quilts at all and you know how much fucking work goes into it. It's so impressive and so cool looking. That's also my favorite part of the county fair, the quilts. I'm a nerd. It's fun.
You're a quilt nerd for sure.
Yes.
But you a crafty bish. I'm into it. Like, I think that's great. Like, you have shelves of yarn behind you. Literally. We use it as sound dampening devices, but it
works
exists
great.
for a reason in Paige's home.
I make things.
Yes.
I wear things.
Yeah.
I've been making, because everyone I know is having babies, I'm making a bunch of baby stuff all the time now. And it's all teeny tiny clothes and my hands are very sore. But you know, this is so cute. I can't, just the tiny sweaters. I don't even want to give them away because I just like looking at the tiny clothes. But they're for other people.
Other baby people.
Other baby people.
Learn to make your own clothes, baby.
Hey, baby, why don't you take your tiny hands and make tiny stuff?
What are we even talking about? We got to get back into it. Hang on.
It's the only thing keeping me happy during the war is the tiny clothes.
Why does Paige's life sound like a Civil War letter from the front?
Oh, dearest Marjorie, the ice trucks did advance on the store today until we locked them inside and then found out what hotel they were staying at and popped all their tires while we let the mariachi bands play outside. It is tedious work, but we are committed to it, and we have stacked all of the lime scooters outside of their driveways. Please send more yarn and shark bite gushers.
And saltpeter. Yeah, so let's get back. We got to get back into the movie, Paige.
We do. So this is this night and this art installation and the award ceremony and their kind of walk home. This is where we kind of get everybody. Where does everybody fit in this ecosystem?
Yeah.
Where, we've got Angela and Lee hoping to have a baby, hoping to kind of move into that phase of their life as parents. And then we have Chris and Min, who seem to have been in a relationship for a long time.
Yeah, we come to find out 5 years.
5 years.
Yeah.
Chris has some, I guess, weird commitment issues.
Which we come to find out, he had a very plausible reason for, he was the only child. His parents had very, very high expectations. And when he came out, they initially weren't really on board, but eventually came around.
Right.
And I think he, for very good reasons, has struggled to live up to expectations that he knows his parents were at least initially disappointed about this big part of who he is. I understood it by the end of the movie. And that's one of the reasons I love it. I feel like all of these things do pay off.
Right.
And initially you're like, well, this guy's just like this typical dude who can't grow up. And then you realize why he is that guy.
Right. But as this is all happening and all these serious conversations and bomb-ass quilts are happening.
Yeah.
Who should show up but Shumai, the dragon drag queen? Literally the same outfit. And I love that Lee just looks over and is like, we could have carpooled. What?
Yeah.
We're going to the same place. But we cut to the next day where Lee is gardening. Angela has gone off to work. She works in a lab testing which worms, the larvae of moths, can eat microplastics.
Yeah.
So the real heroes.
Yeah.
Bowen Yang leads bird watching tours
Yeah.
and draws the birds, which is very cool.
Uh-huh.
And I do love the lady that comes up to him on the bird watching tour. You should have a boyfriend. I think my nephew is gay, maybe pansexual. And you're like, first of all, lady, where did you learn the term pansexual?
From the script. That's where she learned it.
From the script.
Yeah.
I love that she's just like, I don't exactly know if my nephew is gay, but I think he might be into this pansexual that woke is talking about.
But doesn't that sound like some real, hyper supportive aunt energy? I'm not saying it comes from a
Yes.
bad place even.
Yeah.
But let it happen when it's going to happen, Aunt Nancy or
Yeah.
whoever this is. You know what I'm saying?
Look, as a future aunt and godmother, I have a godson. I'm about to be an aunt
Ooh.
to a nephew.
Damn, the apotheosis of Paige.
And all I got to say is, for now, because I'm definitely teaching them both to sew and hoping somebody ends up on Project Runway. You know what I'm saying? Let's do it.
Let's do it. Yeah.
With new McValue at McDonald's, you get more than you expect. So after a long day, buy a double cheeseburger and add a McChicken for $1. Because saving with deals is always on the menu with new McValue.
Prices and participation may vary. Valid for item of equal or lesser value.
With a $5 meal deal with new McValue. You pick a McDouble or a McChicken, then get a small fry, a small drink, and a 4-piece McNuggets. That's a lot of McDonald's for not a lot of money.
Prices and participation may vary. McDouble meal $6 in some markets for a limited time only.
Anyway, we get some shots of Min quilting and working in his studio. And then he looks at his phone and is like, oh shit. And he goes to this very fancy office building in a suit where he has to sit down and talk to his grandma. And his grandma's like, look, man, you've been in college for like 7 years.
Yeah. Who are you, Van Wilder? Like,
Yeah.
get your shit together. I mean, it's not that, but it's more or less that.
But it's like, hey, your student visa's almost up, so you're coming back to run the company, right? Now, here's the interesting thing.
Yeah.
Because they are clothing merchants and they want him to be the creative director, which honestly, like, there's a part of me that's like, you could be great at that job, dude. I know it's not what you want to do. I would never force you to do what you want to do. But like, maybe you'd be making these amazing clothes because like we see him make outfits and stuff later. And I'm like, they need your talents.
Paige, we're obviously never going to get a sequel to this movie. But if we did, and he was like, it's 10 years in the future or whatever, and he was running the company. And the reason he never wanted to work at the company was because his granddad hated him for who he was.
Right.
And his granddad fucking died or whatever. And the grandma made sure he took over the company, because I do think he could run it. Like, he excels at art. Like, it makes sense that he could run a company that deals in that world exclusively, you know?
Right.
I mean, I'm sure there's stuff he would have to learn about running the business side of things, but he would know the creative shit from day one, and that's so rare.
Yeah.
Anyway,
but this basically sets up the fake wedding of it all, is that he's going to have to find a way to either stay there so he doesn't have to go back to run the business, but that means that he's probably going to give up all his money. So that's hanging in the balance for us to find out.
Right. But it sets up this choice for Min that he now has to make. Does he become who he is inside, or does he put himself hide all that and go back to Korea and to the life that honestly would probably be, if he was a straight cis guy, what he chose, you know?
Probably. Yeah, maybe.
But it seems like he can't be who he is there, and it's probably because his granddad.
I think just his family, yeah.
Yeah, and he loves Bowen Yang, so he wants to stay here with him. I think it sucks, because I do think Min does love Bowen Yang. I think he wants to be married to Bowen Yang.
100%. I never had a doubt.
But because he has to ask him now, because the choice has to be made now.
Well, that's not for another couple scenes.
That's fair, but I do love that, when he's set up to make this choice, Min immediately chooses Bowen Yang.
Right.
There's never a time when Bowen Yang has to plead his case or whatever. I loved that.
Never, yeah.
For Min, it was Bowen all day. I love that.
Yeah, and which this scene sets up means he gives up everything.
Yeah.
So his immediate choice is, I will give up everything to stay here with you.
Yeah.
But we'll get to that in a little bit,
loved
because
it.
other stuff happens around that.
Yes, of course, yes.
But yes.
Yeah.
So we cut to Lily Gladstone Lee at work, where she is kind of like a social worker for at-risk LGBTQIA teens that are on the street.
Yes. It's important to the plot that she works in a public role in the LGBTQIA plus space, because she can't be the one to marry Min.
Right.
Yeah.
In an incredible sweater.
Yes.
Honestly, the textiles in this movie, top notch across the board. This sweater, I wanted her entire wardrobe. At one point, she wears a shirt dress, a
dress, yeah,
yeah, like a button-down shirt dress, but instead of having a traditional collar, it has a straight, a band collar.
Yeah, a baller.
And it looks incredible. And I'm like, I got to make me one of those. So I'm probably going to try and make me one of those, because it looked great. And I was like, I got to rock this shit.
Paige, make that and a coconut cake and call me. Let's do this.
She's got the vulva earrings later. I was obsessed. Everything they put on her in this movie, I was like, I need it. I love all of it. But so she goes home, and we see Bowen Yang kind of filling the bird feeders at home.
Yeah.
She gets in the shower, and we don't see it, but it is heavily implied that she has started her period, or that there's blood in the shower, meaning the IVF did not take.
Yeah.
We cut to their appointment, where they rush to the appointment, and they're like, very sorry, didn't take. Age might be a factor. Now, she's not crazy old or anything.
They don't say her age, but she seemed maybe late 30s, maybe 40. She does not seem old, you know?
No, yeah, late 30s, early 40s max.
Yeah.
I would put her at 38.
Sure.
Which you know, I guess depending on your genetics and whatever, people have more or less time depending on what your body do.
Yeah.
And we will find out later that, hey, third time's a charm. But they do tell her, we don't recommend doing this more than 3 times. And this was their second time.
Yes.
So the next one would be basically their last shot because it is rough on your body to do that process.
Listen, I'm sure it is rough on your body. I'm not trying to discount that at all. It would be rough on
your bank account.
I'm sure their mental health.
Oh, the mental health is huge.
Well, and your bank account too. But I mean, like, when she's in the shower and she realizes what happened, it is like she does such an amazing job of like being like kind of heartbroken.
Yes.
You know, that this thing that she's always wanted is not happening right now. And like kind of ashamed of it because like, fuck, we spent all this money on it. Maybe not ashamed, but like disappointed that it's not like, I don't know. She just does such a great job with that like nuance. She's really great, honestly. She's an amazing actress.
Yeah. And very, very great in this.
Yeah.
But they basically, at this point, they're like, we can't really afford to do this again. And even if we saved up to do it, by the time we save up, I'm even older. So if age is the factor, that's a bigger issue. And so there's then a question of like, well, what if we save up, but you do it because it's implied that Angela's a little bit younger, although not much.
Yeah.
I would say like if Lee's 38, maybe Angela's 32. Like,
I would have said 35, but yeah, I don't know. I mean, they do say she's younger. No one ever says their age though. So like, it's hard to gauge.
They seem very close in age.
Yeah. I'd buy that she was late 30s and Angela was mid to early 30s. Yeah.
Yeah. And but this starts like a fight.
Yes.
And I think Lee very accurately, because she knows her partner, is like, this is not really about this. This is about you and your mom. And,
it is,
and the things that you are still harboring and feeling. And the idea of you being a mom is kind of triggering. And Angela won't admit to that in this moment, but Lee hit the nail on the head. That is what it is.
Yeah.
Like, you know, but they get interrupted by
another fight taking place.
Chris and Min fighting.
Yeah, I thought that this was such a funny, like, it almost felt a little Shakespearean in a way.
A little bit, yeah.
Because this is how you would do it, like, on the stage.
A little 12th night.
Yeah, a very 12th night, yeah. Not that it's funny, but, like, the way that you would, like, have a fight within a fight, kind of.
Right.
And also that a fight would be the result of a proposal, which is what happened and what led to the fight.
That's very Shakespearean.
That's very Shakespearean, yeah.
Yes, and it is a proposal because essentially Min has proposed and Chris is accusing him of only proposing so that he can stay in the country, which is kind of absurd because we know if he marries Chris, maybe he gets to stay in the country, maybe he gets a green card, but he loses everything else. He loses his family, he loses his money, he loses everything. And in this argument of like, why won't you marry me? I do think Min is like, I love you. I've had this ring for a while. Why won't, like, marry me? I want to marry you. We've been together for 5 years or whatever. And it's not until Min kind of leaves to go to the studio and cool off that Chris really is like, I can't be responsible for him losing everything.
Yeah.
And to that, the answer is like, you have to let people choose to love you if that's what they're going to choose.
Yeah.
Especially if it's a case of like, their family won't approve, whatever. It's like, they have to make that choice. You don't get to choose for people.
Paige, it happens later in the movie, but when he sort of reveals why he reacts this way in this moment, by like the telegraph for that, I think, is when she's saying like, don't you see he's willing to give up everything for you? Do you see how insane that is?
Right.
And he's like, I know. That's why I can't let him do that.
Right.
Like he does not feel like he's worth giving up everything for.
Right.
And like that is not his choice to make. Min made that choice.
Right.
And for you to then deny them the choice they made and your own happiness is crazy. Like that just seems crazy to me and makes me like, I understand what Bowen Yang is doing in that moment. And I've done stuff like that in my life too. But Bowen, you are worth that. You know what I'm saying? Or like, Min decided that. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Yeah, you're worth it.
Well, and it's also one of those things where like, we've talked about this on other episodes of like, don't tell people what they do or don't like.
Yes.
Like,
yeah.
Don't tell people that they don't like you. Don't assume for somebody else. If somebody's saying they like you, they like you. Like you have to believe that you are worthy of that love because you are.
Yeah.
And people may choose other things, but like if someone chooses you and you want to choose them back, great.
Yeah, 100%. It just made me sad for Bowen Yang.
Yeah.
And I know that so many people struggle like that. I have.
Yeah.
Like, I understand. It sucks.
Yeah. I also love Min's speech here where he's like, why would I love you. Like, why would I want to just stay in America? Your trains are so slow and tipping is confusing. And I'm like, those two things. And he was like, just enroll in college, get good at Google Sheets. I'm like, I'm already so good at Google Sheets.
I'm so good at Google Sheets already.
I
really loved it too. Like, I really do. Like, Min is one of my favorite characters in this movie by far. Like, he is just like charming, funny, always chooses Bowen over everybody. Like, fuck the world. I want Bowen. I love that energy so much. So yeah, I love him and his character in this movie so much.
So good. But we then cut to everyone has kind of gone to their respective corners. Bowen and Angela have kind of gone to a bar together to talk shit out.
Yeah.
And this is where, because Chris, his character's name is Chris, has known her for a long time. So he knows about her mom. And he's like, you'll be a good mom too. And she's like, I don't know that. And he's like, no, you have mother issues, not motherhood issues. Like, you would be a good mother, but you do need to grapple with your shit with your own mother.
Yeah.
And she's like, well, you need to grapple with the fact that you are afraid to finish anything or decide anything. And they have this talk. They're like, we're fuck ups. Then they go to a place called Dick's and get food.
Yeah.
And come back. And by the time they come back, Lee and Min have hatched a new plan that Angela will marry Min.
Yes.
So that they can get his grandfather's money and then pay for another round of IVF for Lee. And Min gets to stay in the country while Bowen Yang, Chris, gets more time to figure out what he wants to do.
Yes. Can I tell you a few things that I think are very interesting about this bargain that they're making?
Yes.
First off, how terrified would you be if you had just like refused a proposal and then like went out, got drunk, and were bringing food back with your best friend, and you walk in and the person whose proposal you refused but are in love with, you heard the person who was in the room with them say, I dare you to do it, as you walk in.
Oh, yeah. That's never going to be a good sign.
When they walk in and Lily Gladstone goes, I dare you to do it, I was like, oh my God, like what?
Yes.
What is Min about to do? And he literally gets up and gets on one knee and proposes to Angela.
Right.
Which I thought was fun. And that's when he sort of reveals his plan, which is to commit marriage fraud, I guess.
I mean, light fraud. Fraud is such a strong word.
Fraud is a strong word, but I did look up the punishment for if you did this and it got found out and you got arrested for it.
But also prove it.
Well, they would have to prove it. Yeah, they would have to prove it. So like, but if they could, the U.S. citizen would go to jail for up to 5 years and have a $250,000 fine, and the person who wasn't from the country would have a $250,000 fine and then would not be able to come back to the U.S.
But also, here's the thing. They're going to get married, legally married. And you can live however you want within your marriage. So like,
you think I give a shit? Yeah, I don't care. I'm just saying, like, for the fun facts of the movie, that's what would have happened if like the proposal had happened and like they got hauled in to do interviews with like the marriage cops or whatever they used in that movie.
Which they do interview people for stuff like this.
Yeah.
But here's the thing. They've known each other for years. You can marry people for whatever reason you fucking want.
Yeah.
And they were going to stay married long enough for the green card naturalization and then switch and marry.
And she would have had a baby, and they're not going to like DNA test that baby. Like,
No.
They definitely would have got away with it. You know what I'm saying?
They definitely would have got with it.
Yes.
And not only that, they were just going to wait until the grandfather died, and then I fully expected him to marry Bowen Yang anyway. So like,
hell yeah.
who cares?
Yeah.
This is a paperwork issue.
Yeah, get all that money that is his inheritance. I'm not saying he's like screwing over his granddad. Like, he is the only logical heir, right?
Right. Yeah, he's the only one.
So like, get that money and then turn Bowen Yang into Bowen Ka-Chang. Like, you just be rich together. Like,
make it rain.
Yes. And honestly, at the end of this movie, that's kind of what I think happens. And I want that for them so bad as like as a couple of couples. You know what I'm saying? Like,
yes.
The four of them together, I loved together.
A little family village.
Yes. It was like so sweet. I loved it.
Yes.
It's like if Big Love wasn't really gross.
If Big Love wasn't terrifying and creepy.
Yeah.
If Big Love was consensual.
Oh, well, that's a nuance. I don't want to. I mean, listen, I totally agree with you, but there's some family members specifically of mine that would disagree, but man, are they wrong? Anyway,
but they're going to think about it, right? And so we get this very sweet scene with Lee and Angela where they talk about how Lee got her house, that her father bought it because it was on tribal lands. And he's like, I am preserving the tribal lands so that we can keep them. I can have them. You can have them. Your children can have them.
Yes.
And so it's this idea of not just wanting a child to have a child and to enjoy being a parent, but to continue to pass that lineage along.
Literally a lineage that exists longer than the country it now resides in.
Right.
And I love that she felt a responsibility to keep that going on that, in that space. I loved that.
Yes.
And I love that by the end of this movie, we get that. That happens. And I was very, very glad that happened.
Yes. So they agree. They're going to do it. It'll give them time. They'll get a green card. They'll get another chance at the IVF. Great. So they then go tell her mom. And her mom, and by her, I mean Angela's mom, does not react great because it's very much, what about me? What about all of the work I did to be this very proud mom of a gala? And you're like, hey, that's what? Yeah. That's not what, come on.
It's honestly, it's kind of funny though, because okay, what she's saying is very much I have been working so hard to show you that I'm supportive of your lifestyle.
Right.
And we kind of find out later it's because she wasn't, and she was terrible earlier.
Right.
But she is very much making it about herself because she's like, God, I really was doing it up for this. And now you're just going to have this other life, which is sort of pulled the rug out from me socially. And listen, that is not the time to have that conversation.
Yeah.
But I understood why she might feel that way. I also think she should have never voiced it.
Yeah, not at all.
Yeah.
Because it's not about that.
At all. It's not about that at all.
Min FaceTimes his grandma and is like, hey, grandma, remember that talk we had the other day? I'm getting married. And I think his grandma, the subtext of this conversation is really? Boy, you gay. We know.
Every time the grandmother and Min speak on a laptop or, on Zoom or whatever, it is a fucking chess match between the two of them.
Yes.
And it is so subtext and coded language where he can't be honest with her and she can't be honest with him. And it's this thing. And then by the end of this movie, they are having a very emotionally vulnerable conversation. And I really love that journey for them. But in this moment, it is chess. And I kind of loved that starting point for their relationship.
Yeah. We do get him asking Bowen Yang again about it. And Bowen Yang's still not super into it and kind of non-committal. And they're still kind of arguing because in Min's world, he's like, if you love me, this shouldn't be a problem. I'm doing this to stay with you.
Yeah. He's literally giving up everything to stay with you, Bowen Yang.
I would have married you, but since you don't want to do that and I don't want to lose you, I'll do this, I guess.
Yes, because you're worth even this.
Right. We do get another section with Angela's mom where Angela's mom is basically come on, she's kind of complaining about it. And Angela just kind of goes off and is like, hey, it drives me fucking nuts that you get awards when I first came out to you, you wouldn't speak to me for years. And then you came crawling back. And now everyone wants to pat you on the back for loving me, but you never even apologized for the way you treated me before. And so I'm fucking angry about that shit. And I think that's something she had never voiced to her mom. She finally did. And then she and her mom don't talk again for a while. And when her mom comes back, the conversations are very different. I don't think they've solved their issues by any means. I think they're working towards a more healthy, open relationship. I think her mom has still got a touch of the narcissism a little bit. We see a few other places.
I definitely think she does. And I don't think that her mother has any growth in that department necessarily. I mean, we do see them have a very emotional and touching and very sweet conversation where they sort of, I think, come back together as a mother and daughter kind of relationship. But I don't think her mother is never not at least self-focused, if that makes sense.
Yeah, a little bit of how do I look
exactly.
in how this comes out. Yes.
Yeah, I would hate to say narcissist because I hope there is some growth in that, but that's the way she seems at this point.
Right. But we cut to, they're all kind of going out later because now they're going to have a bachelor party of like the last few days of them getting to be gay.
Yeah.
But both couples have confrontations. So Min again is kissing Chris and is like, why don't you marry me? I just want to marry you. Like, and he's like, what about the money? He's like, I already gave them the money. Money's gone. Fuck it. Like, let's get married. I don't care. You're the one I want to be with.
Yeah.
He's like, no, I won't let you give that up. And he's like, that's for me to decide. You don't get to fucking choose.
It is.
And they go their separate ways at the end of the night. Very angry.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, Lee and Angela is like, hey, what if we took that money because we have the money and we just go travel and like whatever? Because she is afraid of being a mother because she's afraid of failing, and confronting her mother brought all that back up. But Lee is like, no, I want to have a family and I want to have it with you. And I thought you wanted that too.
Yeah.
And if you don't, fucking tell me now before we like embark on this expensive permanent thing, because I thought we were on the same page about this.
It is an incredibly like hurtful moment from Angela. Like I hated this scene a lot.
It's so brutal. And again, and she's like, we're going to go home or like, I'm going to go home. You do whatever you want. We're going to talk about this in the morning when we have rested.
And we're both sober.
And we can have a calm conversation about it.
Yeah.
Because yes, that is exactly what should happen. Lee is right.
100%.
And she's like, you're not my therapist. And I almost wanted to be like, no, she's not. So she's not the one that like, you need to go talk to one.
Yeah.
You don't make her work your issues out. Like, you're right. She's not your therapist.
You're right.
Respect her enough to go care for your mental health. That is your responsibility.
Yeah.
Like you got to take care of your stuff to make relationships work. You got to try to be the best you could be so that y'all could be the best together you could together. I know that those words didn't make a ton of sense.
I followed none of it, but I understand completely.
My brain is a patchwork quilt. Anyway.
It's an avant-garde patchwork quilt.
Very cool. So she then goes back into the bar, and this is where she and Bowen Yang bro down, and they're both kind of airing out their issues, but they get super drunk and they wake up in bed together the next day. Oh shit, did they bang? The movie does not definitively come down either way, but they believe they did. Eventually, we know they did because of what happened.
She's pregnant. Yeah, like we know that Bowen banged.
Yes, but in this scene, I was like, could go either way. The movie might be faking you out. But then later, you're like, they definitely did. But in this moment, they together are like, okay, we need to tell people it was a shitty night. We went to each other for comfort. We didn't have the words. So physical took over. We have no romantic feelings for each other and no desire to ever do this again. That we need to talk about it.
Yes.
And she at this point, I was like, she pregnant and an aunt. But before they can go and talk to their respective significant others, who should fly in from Korea without telling anybody but grandma, and she's going to be at the house in 45 minutes. And they're like, we have to unqueer the house in 45 minutes. And I'm here to tell you as a straight lady, it would take me longer than 45 minutes to ungay my house. Like the amount of crazy. But it reminded me of the Birdcage where it's just subtract.
I was going to say
do not add, only subtract.
And then when Lee or Lily Gladstone like runs up to the painting that is like, it's like three women in like soft focus with
very
like
sapphic.
With like a rainbow above them. Like it's very clear what's happening. She's like, no, it ties the room together. She like will not let them take it off the wall, which to me is hilarious.
It does tie the room together.
It did, yes.
It does look good.
Who am I? Someone who doesn't visualize that way to tell someone what to do with their own home.
I do love that when the grandma gets there, she goes, it's very elegant. It's like the first thing she said.
Yeah. Well, and then she also refers to Bowen Yang as elegant, like in the same scene.
Yeah.
She's like, oh, he's very elegant.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I think my favorite is when Bowen Yang takes down a Lilith Fair poster.
Yes.
And they're like, I don't think she's going to know that that's a gay thing. And he was like, the Indigo Girls are surprisingly popular in Korea. I was like, I don't know if this is true, but I love it. And they make her like change her dress, everything. But grandma shows up and she sits down with them and is like, all right, so when's the wedding? And they're like, well, we're going to City Hall on Friday. We don't want a ceremony. And she's like, so this is a fake wedding.
She calls it immediately. She all but flips the coffee table, Paige.
And she's like, look, I'm gonna level with you. We've never talked about this, but you're gay. Like, you've been gay this whole time. And he's like, yeah, but so is she. And she's like, aha, yes, sham marriage. Great.
Yeah.
So they sit everyone down. And she's like, this plan is really stupid. This is all really stupid.
Yeah.
But you are right in assuming that your grandfather would never let you have the money if he knew you were gay because he's awful.
He's a terrible person. Yeah.
And so here's what I will do. We will pull off this wedding. We will photograph it. We will put it in the newspaper. We'll do whatever. We'll fake it. But like you have to get real married, like legally.
Yeah.
And then I will not make you work at the company. That's the trade-off.
Well, for men.
And they're like, all right, let's fucking go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he does sort of defer to Angela, and Angela agrees, yes, let's continue with the plan, more or less.
Let's go. And she's like, look, your grandfather doesn't have long to live, neither do I. Let's just do this and I won't force you.
Yeah.
Cool. And she's gonna stay with them. He like sets her up in a bedroom and this scene broke my heart where he's like, I didn't mean for you to find out like this.
Yes.
Like I would have rather just told you. And she says, this is not the future I wanted for you, but I can't force you to be what I want.
Right.
Which in the moment sounds almost like a dig, like I'm disappointed. But I think in some ways for her, this is a partial realization.
I think this is the beginning of a journey that she is going on where she does.
Yeah.
She, I think, has a pretty big arc throughout this movie.
Yes.
And it sort of happens kind of quickly. But like, yes, I think this is her starting that.
Yes. And we then cut to Lee and Angela are in bed. And Lee is like, hey, we got to talk about the other night.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, Angela doesn't tell her all of what happened the other night. But she's like, look, I was an asshole. I'm sorry. I do want to travel the world with us. I do want to do all these things, but we'll do it on, vacation with the kid or when the kid goes to college or whatever. Like, I still want that future with you and we will figure it out.
Yeah.
But sadly, we cut to Min and Chris and they're like, I'm sorry. I wasn't listening to you. And Min goes, I can't make you see a future with me. Real Bonnie Raitt style. Like, oh.
Yeah, I can't make you love me.
Turn down the
But it like breaks your heart,
light.
man. Like Min is doing nothing but choosing Bowen Yang this whole time. And Bowen Yang, because his own
these
self-worth issues, won't like take him up on his very,
inside
I think,
my
perfect for Bowen Yang offer.
Yes. Yeah.
I think we may be the only movie review show that will like provide a soundtrack to the commentary we provide.
Look, my voice is not completely back, so I apologize.
Paige, it never left.
Thanks. Anyway, we cut to them touring the wedding venue and tasting the cake, contrasted with Angela and Lee going to their next implantation for the IVF with the fantastic beaded vulva earrings.
Yes. Yeah.
High marks. Great. Then we cut to the Hanbok fitting, which is basically the wedding attire, and grandma is being fitted for hers as well.
Yeah.
And she's like, did you tell her? And he's like, I'll tell her right now. Hey, Angela, there's like a couple other things we got to do. And they do. And I'm trying to remember which movie it was that we watched that also did this, that did a bunch of fake vacation photos.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I can't remember, but I know what you're talking about because that's what they do. They like set up backdrops and like they're like skiing in some photos and they're like in a tropical location in some photos. Yeah.
I think I'm thinking of the pilot of Spaced, and it's not something that we've done on the show.
But you told me to watch Spaced, and then I watched Spaced and we talked about it. So that was kind of like an episode for us.
For just the two of us.
Yeah.
But yeah, very much that same beat of like, we're taking fake vacation photos or whatever.
Yeah.
And the mom, Angela's mom, invites grandma to like, do you want to come to my club? We talk about our kids, and it's like a lot of sitting in circles and laughing and crying. She's like, Americans love to sit in circles and cry.
I kind of loved that, like,
that's real.
Min's grandmother, like, had to clarify that, like, Angela's mom isn't crazy. She's just American. And that was very funny to, like, have him have to clarify that for her.
Well, and I do love that she's like, what about Chris's parents? And he's like, yeah, they're cool. I've met them. And it's almost this hurt of like, you have shared a whole life without me.
Yeah.
as your family because I was not involved.
Well, and we come to find out like what has happened and why she did what she did and sent him away to America. And all of that
Right.
was, seems very cold initially, but you come to find out was like a huge gesture of love because her husband is terrible. And she knew, I think, he was gay from like a young age. She alludes to that at
Yes.
least. And that she felt she needed to protect him. And listen, this lady lost her child that was Min's parent. We don't know if it was the dad or mom or whatever, but like,
Yeah, we just know that Min's parents died,
Right.
both of them, and so we don't know. Yeah.
yeah, but like we do know that she lost a child and then was put in charge of this other child, like her grandchild. And so like she's been through a lot. And then like also that she's probably also gay
Right.
and like couldn't make the choice that she is now allowing Min to make. This whole thing like broke me down on like a very
Oh, yeah.
emotional level. I'm coming in very emotional tonight, Paige. I apologize.
That's all good. We cut to Angela and Lee are prepping. Everyone's kind of prepping for the wedding the next day. And this
Yeah.
is where Lee has her like, I don't care about the institution, but I love the parties. And then Chris is like, I guess traditionally the best man would carry a goose, but I'm going to be carrying a duck. And his cousin is like, do you wish it was you getting married? And he doesn't answer.
Yeah.
But we cut to in the studio, Min has made his grandmother a patchwork hanbok. And that is the one she chooses to wear to the wedding eventually. But this is the first time we see it laid out on the bed,
Okay.
as opposed to the one she tried on in the store. So in a way, it is her choosing his life of art before we fully get her choice.
Yeah, I didn't pick up on that. That's awesome.
But the night before the wedding, she runs into Chris in the courtyard and finds his sketchbook. And this is where she kind of just sits and tries to get to know Chris a little bit.
Yeah.
And even in this short conversation, I feel like she's like, he's a good guy. He's cool. Like, you know, we're figuring it out. And she says, get some sleep. It's going to be a long, weird day tomorrow.
Yeah.
Which I thought was a great line.
And it was. It does turn out to be a long, weird day.
Yep. And she does wear the hanbok he makes her the next day.
Yeah.
And then we get what I assume, because I am not Korean, is a very traditional Korean wedding and tea ceremony.
Paige, when I watched this, I was like, oh my God, I want to know everything about every one of these
I
like
know.
rituals or whatever you call the ceremonial aspects of this wedding ceremony.
Right.
And I don't know anything about it. And man, I have like a million questions. I got to go down the rabbit hole and figure it out because it was so cool to watch. And to watch it as like an outside observer, not knowing anything about it and just see it not explained, it was like a very cool way to experience it. Because I felt like I got to be a fly on a wall and I didn't have to like judge it. I could just like sit there and see it and be like, oh, that's so cool. I wonder why
Yeah.
he's like hiding the cup like that in this tea ceremony.
Why are we catching the chestnuts?
Yeah. It's cool.
Yeah.
But I'm definitely going to Google it.
It reminded me of when we did the wailing and they had the Korean drum exorcism.
Yes.
And that guy was on. I was like, what?
Ugh.
Do you know how much more lit the exorcist would be if it was this the whole time? Like, what? Yes.
100%. Yes.
But apparently, as part of this tradition, there is like a piggyback ride lap. And that's when she starts to get sick and vomits down his neck, which is super gross.
It is real
but
gross.
obviously, she pregnant.
But this is where they like brought reporters to take photos for the newspapers. So guess what photo they use in the newspaper?
That's the one they use.
It's like literally her mid-vom on his neck.
Gross.
Which like if Karl Lagerfeld or whatever that guy's name was like, is that his name?
Well, if you're talking about Karl Lagerfeld, yes, that is his name, but I don't know if that's who you mean.
The designer, the clothing designer?
Yes,
That's the guy.
Karl Lagerfeld.
Nailed it
Yeah.
then. You looked at me like I was crazy and I was crushing it.
Well, it's not a name I would expect you to know, but I may have expected you to have heard.
Paige, I can't tell you how much I loved RuPaul's Drag Race.
I know. You know what? Yeah, keep going.
Anyway, if he was like marrying somebody and that person threw up on his neck at their wedding, that would definitely make the papers.
Oh, absolutely. Like that time George Bush threw up on that guy.
I mean, he was the president when that. Yeah, I mean, yes, fully. Yeah, I'm just saying that like George Bush is probably thrown up on many people at this point in his life. But
Sure.
yeah,
Yeah. Anyway, they're like, everyone kind of left, but like, you didn't ruin anything. Arrangements are set for City Hall. It's fine. But we cut to what it seems like is either later that day or the next day, where she has her mom bring her a pregnancy test and takes it. But there's a weird sound cue in this scene where she's like waiting on the results of the pregnancy test and the timer on her phone goes off. But I had a brief moment. I was like, do they make pregnancy tests that ring now? Like, who wanted that feature? And I was like, but no, it's just the phone alarm.
It's like an alarm that goes off like you're pregnant. Sorry. Like a pregnancy alert.
What a terrible feature.
It's not. It's just her phone's timer page, of course.
It's just the phone's timer. But could you imagine because here's the thing. Pregnancy tests are a very binary experience because you're hoping either way. Like either on one hand, you're like, please let it be positive. I want a baby. On the other hand, you're like, please, no, I have things to do this summer and I don't want to ruin it.
Yeah.
Like that's one of the two. And so the only thing that could make both of those worse is if once it had like a result, it was just like pregnant. Like, because even if you were like hoping for that, you're like, I mean, good, but like, yikes.
It's like the voice of God yelling through the speaker on the stick you peed on a second ago.
What if you could choose the voice? What if, like those old GPS systems and you're like, I want Samuel L. Jackson to tell me I'm pregnant. Bitch, you pregnant. Like, or like Arnold Schwarzenegger, he's like, pregnant, and you're like, he can't pronounce it. Pregnant.
You better get busy living or get busy pregnant. Life is like a box of pregnant. Like there's a bunch of great ones we could do, Paige. Come on. Do you want the Forrest Gump add-on, Paige, on your pregnancy stick?
I just think it's funny that that's the one you picked for Tom Hanks. I know that's the most logical one, but the next one my brain went to was pregnant woman walking on the Green Mile.
Pregnant woman walking.
Oh man, now I'm gonna think all night about which celebrities I would want.
I think it's important, Paige, that they have like a tie-in to the movie that you know them from. You know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah, no, for sure.
Like it's Russell Crowe yelling, "Are you not pregnant?"
You had me at pregnant.
Yes. Honestly, Paige, I may cut this out of the episode because this is $1 billion idea, and I'm waiting until we get the sharks involved.
Show me the baby. This is both the most brilliant and the dumbest idea we've ever had.
I mean, my favorite one, and I think our top seller is definitely going to be the Vanilla Ice one, because it's just ice, ice, baby.
See, no, when you have a baby, it goes dun, 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 dun.
How dare you? That is such a stupid and like meta reference. I love that. Oh my God. The 12 people that got that are losing their mind. That's amazing. Some people shouldn't do interviews.
The path of the righteous man is beset on all sides by the, like, just do the full, and you will know that baby is the Lord's when I lay that baby upon you.
The whole Pulp Fiction speech?
The entire speech.
Oh, I love it.
You know what they call a baby in France? A baby, stupid.
A McBaby with cheese. We cannot riff this all night, Paige. We gotta get back into it.
And my brain is just like, what are the most inappropriate ones of like, I ate your baby with fava beans and a nice Chianti. Like
maybe the dingo ate your baby. Oh wait, that's just actually the quote from the.
That's
never
just
mind.
real.
Never mind.
That happened for real.
Yeah, that's just real life. Yeah, that's real sad. My bad.
Lady lost a kid. Anyway.
Damn, I'll meet you on the high road, Paige. I'll come back. I'm sorry. Yeah, got high-roaded by Paige.
I was just quoting Tropic Thunder.
God damn, when a bit gets real.
When that baby gets to the world, I'm going to teach it how to juggle. Anyway, so at this point, she's pregnant.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh, this is going to be bad because not only are we going to have to reveal to her partner, Lee, that the thing Lee has wanted this entire time and has tried really hard to have, Angela has now had on accident. But then also she cheated on her. Like that is also like it's a double whammy, right?
It definitely, not to quote one of my favorite characters from Anchorman, but it definitely is a double whammy.
Yeah.
And it like, she handles it way better than I would.
I mean, yeah, especially after that pregnancy test said that 60% of the time it's a
works
baby all of the time.
time.
Stay classy, San Diego. But her mom is there and is like, look, I know that you are afraid of this.
Yeah.
And I was not the best mom. But like I learned from you, you will learn from your baby, and you are a miracle, even if it's a mess. So don't forget that. If this is ultimately what you want, and I do love that her mom says,
Yes.
if this is what you want.
Yes, 100%. She makes that distinction. Yeah.
You will do great at it. And we cut to the next day. Chris and Min are there.
Yeah.
And they're still on tenuous terms. But she's like, hey, can we talk in the guest house? And we then cut to after that conversation happens. So we don't know what exactly she said. We just cut to Min saying, so it was penis sperms? Like,
not test tube sperms?
Not test tube sperms. And so like, I feel like Min is not even all that mad about it. Like, he's kind of like, what? And he's like, so do you? And they're like, no, never, not at all. It was a mistake. We would never again. Fine. And we don't even really remember doing it, which is not great, you know?
Yeah.
But I don't feel like either one was trying to victimize the other, if that makes sense. Anyways.
I mean, for a movie that technically has some infidelity in it, like, I don't know, it's weird and it's nuanced, and I'm struggling to like find a way to talk about it that I think will do it justice. But I think because Bowen Yang and Angela clearly wish they hadn't done it too, and it's like, I feel bad for them, and it makes me not hate this moment as much as I normally would.
Right. There's no ongoing relationship. There's no risk of an ongoing relationship, really.
Right.
To be honest, even when they tell Lee, because essentially they're like, what are we going to do? Well, we have to tell Lee. Like, we're going to tell her right now.
Well, and then Lee walks up and she's like, tell me what?
Tell me what? And then she runs out. And to be honest, I think the part that hurts Lee worse is the baby.
I think so too, yeah.
Than necessarily the sex.
Or I think that's what she has to like come to grips with.
Right.
Yeah, it's hard.
Everyone runs out of the house.
Yeah.
Which at this point I was like, I thought this was Lee's house. Like, everyone seems to stay, like Min's relatives, Angela's relatives, everybody's staying at this house, and they all just like stay there. And I'm like, I'm pretty sure that's Lee's house.
Yeah.
And like, maybe I'm a more vindictive bitch, but like, depending on how angry I was, like, I'd be kicking people out of my house for that shit. Like, come on.
I think she certainly would have been justified doing so, yes.
Yeah,
but
course.
She does not. She sort of retreats away and gets some space.
Yeah, and then there's a real kind of weird moment where Chris breaks up with Min because Min was like, hey, even though this happened, it's weird, but like, I'm still here for you and I still love you. You're still the one I would choose. And he's like, how could you do that? That's crazy.
Yeah.
And breaks up with him for it. I was like, this is underdeveloped and weird.
Yeah, I think it serves the fact that the writer really wanted Bowen Yang to telegraph that it's because he has self-worth issues.
Right.
And this is the scene that sets it up because they're broken up, quote unquote, but they're not in the next scene. You know, it's still this like they're kind of going through the motions to keep Min here for them.
Right.
So I understand what you're saying. From a screenwriting standpoint, it's weird and it's out of place.
Yeah, it's out of place. It feels like we've hit the same beat a couple times. We're hitting it harder this time, but we didn't do enough to establish that harder hit.
Yeah, and why it would be important to hit it again.
Right. We cut to Angela's mom, Min's grandma, having dinner and shots together as they're just like, hey man, it's a mess. We kind of just got to let them all figure it out.
Yeah.
But that also is why I thought focusing on Angela and Min as your two mains would have been a better format, even though they're not in any sort of romantic relationship together. I feel like they have very like mirrored stories, and to see her mom and his grandmother come together is really nice. And that I think would have been, if I was doing a rewrite or an edit on this screenplay, I would focus a lot more on their two characters and potentially minimize a little bit of the other characters.
I mean, I think that would solve that sort of screenwriter problem in the movie that I agree it has. Much like Love Actually has. It just has too many main characters, you know?
Yes.
But I love everyone's story in this. Whereas in Love Actually, one of them's just like straight up a creepy stalker guy.
Right. There's not a bad story in this. All the stories are good. It's too much of a good thing in a way.
Yeah.
Where they're all interesting. They're all good. you don't have enough time to do them all justice unless you want to make this movie 2 hours long, but you don't have enough story to make this movie 2 hours long. So like, someone's got to go. But we find out that Lee's appointment is basically the next day, but she's not answering her texts.
Yeah.
And at this point, it seems like maybe Angela's staying with her mom. It's unclear where people are and what house people are in at this point.
Yeah. I mean, either way, both of the houses are on the same property because it's like house and guest house.
Right.
So like everyone's close by, but no one's talking. And it is sort of like people have sort of isolated themselves while they process their own shit.
Right. But this is where we get the amazing scene between Min and his grandmother.
Yeah.
Where they're looking at the wedding photos and he's like, nobody looks happy. Like my cousin's wedding photos looked happy. And she's like, because it was real. Like they loved each other and were getting married.
Yeah.
And he was like, well, what were your photos like? She was like, unhappy because I was marrying someone I didn't love. And you have always been different. And I tried to protect you. But the life you've created here and the family you've created here is beautiful. And I want you to do what I couldn't. Love who you want to because I couldn't. That's my wedding gift to you.
I was crying so hard.
It's so sad. Yes.
I was crying so hard at this point, man.
Yeah.
Ugh.
But they do decide that they're going to get the license so he can stay and still try and go after Bowen Yang.
Yeah.
So we cut to Angela goes to meet up with Chris, Bowen Yang. And she's like, yeah, we're going to go through with it. We're going to get the license because he wants to stay and see you. And like, and also, I think I'm keeping this baby. And he's like, well, what am I supposed to do? She's like, it's going to be fine. Like, he's like, what if the kid's going to end up like me? It might end up like me, but would it be so bad? We're cool people. Like, you know.
They kind of, I mean, I realize that he's taken a gap year from grad school, but the dude's been to prestigious school and is going to eventually finish grad school. And like, you know, like he's going to be a success on some level, you know, like.
Yeah. But we do then get his scene with his cousin that's been kind of in and out of the movie the whole time. The movie is not entirely clear. It's really not until this scene that we truly understand that he's this person's guardian. That like, we know that he's like older and is like, call me when you get home and whatever.
And they're cousins, but it's not like.
But we don't know the context for that, really?
Yeah, like I wanted to say this because I think the reason I didn't realize that they were like his charge or his ward, if we're going to continue with the Shakespearean stuff. But like earlier in the movie, when Bowen Yang was like, text me when you're on your way home or whatever, I didn't realize that meant that they were together at home normally. I thought that they were just like, hey, you're intoxicated and you're going with somebody to a second location. Will you please let me know you're safe when you've left them? I thought that that's what that was.
Well, and I don't even think that they live together because I think in this scene, Bowen Yang goes to their house.
Yeah, you're right.
Because Bowen Yang lives in the guest house.
You're right. Yeah. So like, what is happening, Bowen?
What is happening? We don't really know. And then it's like when you took care of me because of what happened with the family and we don't know what happened with the family. We're like, what is this?
Oh, I think I put it together just now.
Okay.
That's their cousin. That's Bowen Yang's cousin.
Yeah.
When Bowen Yang first came out, it was bad. And then they eventually came around.
Yeah.
But that is not that's not his cousin's parents. So I wonder if they told their parents recently, they came out pretty recently and are being sort of ostracized from their family. So Bowen Yang has been sort of taking them on and helping them out during this time.
That makes sense.
All of this is like a guess.
Conjecture.
Yeah. I don't know that this is at all on the screen, but that's a story where the things, like the story beats make sense, I guess.
Right.
But I'm having to like really put that together. Like that's very much like speculation zone, to borrow a cult podcast thing, you know?
Yes. Yeah. But they're the one that are like, hey, you can make all the decisions you want, but the one you really need to make is about Min and you love Min. And so why are you putting this off?
Yeah.
But we cut to the wedding, the courthouse. And I was like, oh, we're going to get in. I object. And they start to do the, courthouse wedding and who should show up, but the giant dragon. And I was like, if that drag queen comes out, I'm going to lose my shit.
I know. I thought it was going to be very funny.
She does not. It is Bowen Yang, but what an entrance. Love it.
Yeah.
Love it.
I love that like they're doing this in front of someone who is marrying people who have taken a number and are like have an appointment to be there, but it's very much like a factory sort of like, let's turn them over, get these weddings done and out the door. And so like it's a room full of people who are just waiting for their turn, and then this happens, and that sort of made me laugh.
I do love that they do this in this setting, because romance movies do this all the time where people object at a wedding and nobody goes through the implications of what that actually would do.
Yes. Oh, I was going to bring it. Yes, 100%. Yes, please say it.
And
yes.
I love that in this, like, they're like, I object. It's going to be this. Hey, here's what's going on. She's having the baby. This, and they give the judge the whole rundown. And he's like, I don't care. The form says her name. Like, you have to fill out new forms. And so the clerk is like, ID.
Yeah. Well, at first he's like, we can't do this. And they sort of take that to be like,
yeah,
I don't sanction this. This is not okay or whatever. And so they're like, no, it's fine. Like, I want to marry him now. And everyone's okay with it.
Right.
And he's like, no. I don't care about that. Like, the form has her name on it. Like, I can't use this form. And then it like literally shows someone who we have not seen on camera, but is 6 feet away from the judge at a desk. Like,
yes.
Hey, can I get some identification?
The bursar or whoever.
And then Bowen Yang is like, oh, yes, sorry. Of course. Yes, 100%. And then it cuts to them now back at the altar getting married. It was very great. I loved it.
But we cut to, they get back to Lee's house.
Yeah.
After, and Angela hears something in the garden. Lee is in the garden. And there is no dialogue in this moment, but it is implied that they reconcile. And also, I think, heavily implied that the appointment went well. It's like, you're supposed to read all of that on Lily Gladstone's face.
I got it.
Because it's Lily Gladstone and she's incredibly talented, you get it.
There was no question for me in the flash forward scene as to how many babies we'd see. 100%. And Lily Gladstone is amazing. She does that without saying a word. And I got it.
Yes.
Crazy good.
So good. But then we cut to 2 newborns at once, but there's 4 of them to help juggle bottles and sleep schedules and everything.
Yeah.
And we get this very kind of quiet moment with Angela, which makes me think that like the movie thought Angela was the main character. And I was like, it would have been great if she was. Like, because she gets the ending shot of like considering all of this love and all of this family that she has in a very positive way. It's like she's very, very happy and seemingly relieved that she is mothering in a different way than her mother did. Yeah. Even if she's apprehensive it's going to go well.
Yeah. And that's the movie. So having seen the movie, having talked about the movie, Paige, what did you think about The Wedding Banquet?
I mean, it made me cry a lot, but it was fun. I enjoyed it. The story is very, very heartwarming, very, very sweet.
It is. I think that, well, Paige, you've read a book, right?
Yeah, occasionally.
I kind of feel, and I've only heard this because I have not experienced that, but it feels to me like this is a book, if that makes sense.
Sure.
Because a book, you can take the time to set up a few main characters that we follow. And because we don't have the runtime of a book, a lot of it feels rushed.
Yes, yes.
But man, do I love the story they're telling. And like, I love that we get everyone's story. I just wish that we could take more time with it. So like, this is one of those rare situations where I think the movie was too short and/or it's probably the wrong story to tell in this format. At least at this detail for every character.
Yeah.
And I didn't want to cut any of their stories because I love them so much, but it just makes some of the stories feel rushed.
Okay. I've got a wild fun fact for you.
Oh, no shit. Okay. Well, Paige, I was about to ask, do you have any fun facts for us?
I do.
Well, here to switch your fun facts.
Banquet
fun facts.
This is a remake of Ang Lee's 1993 original.
Wait, you didn't watch Ang Lee's movie?
No, I didn't watch Ang Lee's movie.
That's what I watched. No, I'm just joking.
No, but now I kind of want to. Now I'm actually kind of curious how they like kind of compare, because it seems like it looks like they maybe don't have the extra added part with Lily Gladstone's character, because I'll read you the synopsis now. The story concerns a gay Taiwanese immigrant who marries a mainland Chinese woman to placate his parents and get her a green card. His plan backfires when his parents arrive in the United States to plan the wedding, and he has to hide the truth of his gay partner. So it sounds like that she's the one getting the green card, and that's kind of how it works in this one.
It sounds kind of birdcagey, but I would watch it. I love the birdcage, and I love
watch
this.
it.
So even if it's like a combination of that, I'm here for it.
Yeah, we're not going to do them back to back, but I would say in the future, I would love to do this original. I'm very curious.
100%, I agree.
Yeah.
Maybe next year, or later in the year.
Yeah, but so this is supposed to be a remake with some changes. There is a moment where a character references Padme Amidala. It is Min who looks at Angela and just says, "You look like Padme Amidala," and she's like, I don't understand the reference. Despite having been in 2 of the Star Wars sequels, Last Jedi and The Rise of Skywalker. So that's kind of funny, because if anyone would know who a Star Wars character was, it would be Kelly Marie Tran. So one of the DVDs seen in their home as they're trying to birdcage it is a movie called Certain Women, which stars Lily Gladstone, which is pretty fun.
Oh, that's great.
And this is the first English-speaking movie role for Han Ji-Chan, which I want to highlight for being a first English-speaking movie role and having to carry a lot of the comedy in a movie, which relies on delivery. That's very difficult to do.
I was going to say that.
So that is very impressive.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I get the feeling we'll see a lot more of him in American movies because of this kind of stuff. Yeah, he's great.
I think so, yeah. And those are your fun facts.
But thank you for those fun facts, Paige. Let's talk a little bit about box office. And by a little bit, I literally mean a little bit. Because, Paige, this may be the most speculative budget figure I have found. Normally, I find a budget and I look for it on 2 sources. So your thenumbers.com and then Box Office Mojo. If they both have the same one, that's probably what it is, right?
Right.
The only place I found the budget for this was in a Reddit comment in a post about this movie. That's how little I trust this source, and I want you to know that going in. But do you want to know what this anonymous person online said they thought the budget was?
Oh, absolutely.
$5 million.
No, this is way more than $5 million.
I was going to say, if that's at all true, amazing that what they did with that budget. Yeah.
Sorcery.
100%.
Sorcery if they did this for $5 million. $10 million, I'd believe.
That would also be a little shoestringy, though, for what we get on screen.
It'd be a little shoestringy for what we get on screen and the amount of notable and known talent that we have on the screen.
Oh, yeah.
If I was a betting lady, I would say this probably costs somewhere between 12 and 15 million.
I was going to say somewhere around there. Yeah, I think 5 million is way too low. And again, the source, not reputable. So know that going in. But this did get a theatrical release, albeit small and brief. So it did come into theaters on April 18th of this year. It was 12th the weekend it came out, and it didn't really get a nationwide release. Nationwide would be around, 3,300-ish theaters. It was only released in 1,100 and a half-ish theaters. So not a full release, but still probably was in theaters in most major cities at least. What do you think it brought in its opening weekend, Paige, where it came in 12th that weekend?
I'm going to say probably right around $1 million.
It was very close to $1 million. Yeah, it was $918,000. Just to place it in time, April 18th, that was the day Sinners came out.
Oh, yeah. Well,
so it was number 1 that weekend. Number 2 was the Minecraft movie. Number 3 was The King of Kings. Number 4 was The Amateur. And number 5 was Warfare. And of course, there was a bunch of other movies. And then The Wedding Banquet came in 12th. At $918,000. It was only in theaters for 5 weeks and was never again in the top 20 movies, and was only in its second week. It dropped from 1,142 theaters down to 506, and then it drops to 83, and it was quickly out of theaters. So I'll just go ahead and tell you, worldwide, it made $2.2 million. So it didn't bring in a ton of money, probably didn't make that even that $5 million budget back. Then again, not reputable. But that's your box office.
Thanks for that box office.
Paige, do you want to hit us with that romance scale?
Our romance scale is the scale of how romantic we found this movie today on a scale of 1 to 4. Todd.
Paige, I am very torn because I think I need to ask some questions that may shake the romance scale to its core.
Okay.
And that is the romance scale a scale where we talk about how much we loved the story of them falling in love? Because this movie is a very late stage in relationship love. Do you see where I'm getting?
Yes. And I will argue that I think too many movies focus on early stage love, and I really appreciate when a movie showcases late stage love.
I 100% agree. Yes, I loved that this was a late stage love movie.
Yeah, I think limiting it to early stage is limiting us. So I would say this is a very romantic movie because we have people in relationships fighting for it.
I'm giving it a 3, baby. Like, I loved this. I loved that they, like, are choosing each other all the time, except for when Bowen Yang and Angela have sex. And that's a very complex issue, but like, everyone's on board with it by the end of it. Everyone's communicating by the end of it. Like, I really, really loved it. This has such a happy ending. And man, I needed that this week.
Yeah, I'll give it a 2 because I feel like I want them to work through some of those issues a little bit more for the betterment of the group.
Yes, I 100% agree. If Big Love wasn't toxic, and I think we all understand what we mean.
Exactly. And that's your romance scale.
Paige, do you want to do the roar scale? Like, I feel weird. I don't think we see anyone have sex in this movie. So, like, roar scale is just a big old NA, right?
Yeah, NA on the roar scale for this one.
Fair. Okay.
And that's your roar scale.
Yeah, I guess. But Paige, this week you made us watch, or I guess we made us watch, The Wedding Banquet. What are we going to make our listeners watch next week as we continue the month?
Pride Month.
Yeah.
It's our last, not our last, Pride movie ever, but just for these 4 weeks. We're definitely going back to lesbian crime movies as soon as we find them. So, don't worry about it.
Can we do another one? Was it Hidden Creatures or Heavenly Creatures? Can we find that somewhere? That movie sounded dope as shit.
I'm going to still try to find it. I am so glad I remembered to do, I don't know what just jogged my memory. I think it was thinking about more lesbian mob dramas. That's not what I found. This is a movie that I remember coming out when I was in high school. I have not seen it since. I have zero memory of it.
Okay.
But it is a teenage sapphic spy action comedy. It is 2004's D.E.B.S. D.E.B.S.
I've never even heard of this.
Oh, starring Jordana Brewster. Yes.
I mean, I'm into it. Let's do it.
Yeah. With Jennifer Carpenter, Megan Good. There's a whole bunch. It's like a who's who of the famous teens at the time are in D.E.B.S. And this is going to be great. It's bonkers. I remember very mixed reviews at the time, but this was formative for some teens that grew up at the time around I did. So we're watching D.E.B.S.
All right. Well, your homework for next week is to watch Megan Good, Devin Aoki, and Sarah Foster in D.E.B.S. D.E.B.S. And Jordana Brewster, I guess.
And Jordana Brewster. Future Fast and the Furious Jordana Brewster. It is a lesbian rom-com about a romance between a good girl spy, teenage spy in training, and her supervillain nemesis, Lucy Diamond.
Is this a movie or a CW pilot?
Hey, ¿por qué no los dos? Why not?
Put Michael Clark Duncan in it, we got a hit. So, guys, you got to check back next week to listen to that episode on D.E.B.S. from 2004, right?
D.E.B.S. 2004.
D.E.B.S.
Do you have any reviews for us, Todd?
Paige, you know I do. This week, I'm going to read a comment that we got from someone on our Bound episode, which was our most recent episode. And I'm going to read this one because I get it. Bound had an effect on people, and someone whose name can only be described as probably my jug says, the movie that made me realize I also like women. And I get it. This movie is shot in a way where I was like, whoo, I get it.
Good for you.
Yeah.
And enjoy that. Happy for you.
Also, that might be the best name I've ever seen on a Spotify commenter. So probably my jugs, my hat's off to you. But if you want to have me read your 5-star Apple review or Spotify comment, leave us one of those things and I'll do just that. So yeah, if you guys like this show and want to hear our other show where we talk about horror movies, that is The Horror Virgin. That's the only other podcast I am on, but Paige is also on Cult Podcast, which you can find at Cult Podcast. And you can find us on social media. I am at Todd J. Awesome, literally everywhere. Paige is at Paige Wesley on Instagram.
No, it's at Rampage Wesley on Instagram and TikTok, at Paige Wesley on Twitter.
That's right. All right. So that's where you can find Paige. If you want to find the show, we are at Romancing the Pod Show, right?
Yep, Romancing Pod Show on Twitter.
Well, and Instagram, right?
And Instagram, but it's show SHO because character limits. If you start typing Romancing the Pod, it'll come up.
It'll definitely come up on Instagram. I don't know about Twitter because I haven't posted on Twitter in a hot ass minute. So like, who knows? But that is where you can find more of us. So yeah, guys, give us a follow. Support the show any way you can. We'd love it.
Smash that like button.
Hell yeah.
And that's going to be it for us, you guys. I'm Paige.
And I'm Todd.
And you complete us.
To completion. Bye. I love the end of this movie, nerds. But I needed the tissues for sure.
La 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 la.